Genesis chapter 20. And Abraham journeyed from there toward the south country, and lived between Kadesh and Shur, and stayed in Gerar. And Abram said of Sarah his wife, She is my sister. And Abimelech the king of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, Behold, you are as dead for the woman whom you have taken, for she is a man's wife. But Abimelech had not come near her. And he said, Lord, wilt thou also kill a righteous nation? Did he not say unto me, She is my sister? And she herself said, He is my brother. In the sincerity of my heart and the innocency of my hands I have done this. And God said to him in a dream, Yes, I know that you did this in sincerity of your heart, for I also withheld you from sinning against me. Therefore I did not allow you to touch her. Now therefore restore his wife to the man, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for you, and ye shall live. And if you do not restore her, know that you shall surely die, you and all that are yours. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning, and called all his servants, and told all these things in their ears, and the men were greatly afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham, and said to him, What have you done unto us? In what have I offended you, that you have brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? You have done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What did you see that you have done this thing? And Abraham says, Because I thought, surely the fear of God is not in this place, and they will kill me for my wife's sake. And yet truly she is my sister. She is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother. And she became my wife. And it came to pass, when God caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said to her, This is your kindness which you show unto me. At every place that we shall come, say of me, He is my brother. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen, and men servants and women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and he restored him Sarah his wife. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before you. Live where it pleases you. And Sarah, he said, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to you a covering of the eyes, unto all that are with you, and with all others. And so she was reproved. And so Abraham prayed unto God, and God healed Abimelech, and his wife and his maidservants, and they bore children. For the Lord had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech, because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Genesis chapter 21. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said. And the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. And Sarah conceived, and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bore to him, Isaac. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. And Sarah said, God has made me laugh, so that all who hear will laugh with me. And she said, Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah should have suckled children? For I have borne a son to him in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne unto Abraham, mocking. Therefore she said unto Abraham, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, with Isaac. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. And God said to Abraham, Let it not be grievous in your sight, because of the boy and because of your bondwoman. In all that Sarah has said unto you, listen to her voice. For in Isaac your seed shall be called. And also I will make a nation of the son of the bondwoman, because he is your seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and took bread and a bottle of water, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on her shoulder. And he gave her the boy, and sent her away. And she departed, and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba. And the water was gone in the bottle, and she cast the boy under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat down across from him, a good way off, about a bow shot, For she said, Let me not see the death of the boy. And she sat over against him, and lifted up her voice, and cried. And God heard the voice of the boy, and the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven, and said to her, What ails you, Hagar? Do not fear, for God has heard the voice of the boy, where he is. Rise up, lift up the boy, and hold him up with your hand, for I will make him a great nation. And God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the bottle with water, and gave drink to the boy. And God was with the boy, and he grew and lived in the wilderness, and became an archer. And he lived in the wilderness of Paran. And his mother took a wife for him out of the land of Egypt. And it came to pass at that time that Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of his army, spoke to Abraham, saying, God is with you in all that you do. Now therefore swear unto me here by God that you will not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son. But you shall do unto me according to the kindness that I have done to you, and to the land in which you have lived also. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Abimelech because of a well of water which Abimelech's servants had violently taken away. And Abimelech said, I do not know who has done this thing, neither did you tell me, neither have I even heard of it, except today. And Abraham took sheep and oxen, and gave them unto Abimelech, and both of them made a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What are these 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves? And he said, For you shall take these 7 ewe lambs from my hand, so that they may be a witness unto me that I have dug this well. Therefore he called that place Beersheba, because they swore both of them there. And so they made a covenant at Beersheba. Then Abimelech and Phicol, the chief captain of his army, rose up, and they returned unto the land of the Philistines. And Abram planted a tree in Beersheba, and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham lived in the Philistines' land many days. Genesis chapter 22. And it came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham. And he said, Behold me. And he said, Take now your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains, which I will name to you. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son. And he split the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went to the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, You stay here with the ass, and I and the boy will go up yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand, and a knife, and they both went together. And Isaac spoke to Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Behold me, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, God will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. And so they both went together. And they came to the place which God had told him of, and Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order. And he bound Isaac his son, and laid him upon the altar, upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to kill his son. And the angel of the Lord came unto him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Behold me. And he said, Do not lay your hand upon the boy, neither do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes, and looked, and behold, behind him a ram was caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Jehovah-Jireh, as it is said to this day, In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen. And the angel of the Lord called to Abraham out of heaven the second time, and said, I have sworn by myself, saith the Lord, because you have done this thing, have not withheld your son, your only son, that in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed like the stars of the heavens, and as the sand which is upon the seashore. And your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. And so Abraham returned unto his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham lived at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she also has borne children to your brother Nahor, Huz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel, the father of Aram, and Chesed, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jidlaph, and Bethuel. And Bethuel fathered Rebekah. And these 8 did Milcah bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Reumah, she also bore Tebah, and Gaham, and Thahash, and Maacah. Chapter 23. Genesis chapter 23. And Sarah was 127 years old, and these were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died in Kirjath Arba, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah, and to weep for her. And Abraham stood up before his dead, and spoke unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a visitor with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, so that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, Hear us, my lord, you are a mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choice of our burying places. None of us shall withhold from you his burying place, from burying your dead. And Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land and the children of Heth. And he spoke with them, saying, If it is your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and ask for me of Ephraim, the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he has, which is at the end of his field. For as much money as it is worth, he shall give it to me for a possession of a burying place among you. And Ephraim lived among the children of Heth. And Ephraim the Hittite answered Abraham in the ears of the children of Heth, of all that went in at the gate of the city, saying, No, my lord, hear me. I give you the field, and the cave that is in it. I give it to you. In the presence of the sons of my people I give it to you. Bury your dead. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land. And he spoke unto Ephraim in the ears of the people of the land, saying, Only if you would please hear me, I will give you money for the field. Take it from me, and I will bury my dead there. And Ephraim answered Abraham, saying unto him, My lord, listen to me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? Therefore bury your dead. And Abraham listened unto Ephraim, and Abraham weighed to Ephraim the silver which he had named in the hearing of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, which passes with the merchant. And the field of Ephraim, which was Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was in it, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the borders round about, were made sure unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of his city. And after this Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave at the field of Machpelah before Mamre. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is in it were made sure to Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. Genesis chapter 24. And Abraham was old, far gone in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said to the oldest servant of his house, who ruled over all that he had, I pray you, put your hand under my thigh. And I will make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that you shall not take a wife to my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. But you shall go to my country and to my kindred, and take a wife to my son Isaac. And the servant said to him, Perhaps the woman will not be willing to follow me to this land. Must I necessarily bring your son again to the land from which you came? And Abraham said to him, Take care that you do not bring my son there again. The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house, and from the land of my kindred, and who spoke unto me, and who swore unto me, saying, Unto your seed I will give this land, he shall send his angels before you. And you shall take a wife unto my son from there, and if the woman will not be willing to follow you, then ye shall be clear from his oath. Only do not bring my son there again. And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and swore to him concerning the matter. And the servant took 10 camels of the camels of his master, and departed, for all the goods of his master were in his hands. And he arose and went to Mesopotamia, unto the city of Nahor. And he made his camels kneel down outside the city by a well of water at the time of the evening, the time that women go out to draw. And he said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, I pray thee, send me good speed this day, and show kindness to my master Abraham. Behold, I stand by the well of water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw water. And let it come to pass that the young woman to whom I shall say, Let down your pitcher, I pray you, so that I may drink, and she shall say, Drink, and I will give your camels drink also, let it be her that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac, and by it I shall know that thou hast shown kindness to my master. And before he had finished speaking, it came to pass that, behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. And the young woman was very beautiful to look upon, neither had any man known her. And she went down to the well, and filled her pitcher, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her, and said, I pray you, let me drink a little water of your pitcher. And she said, Drink, my lord. And she hurried, and let down her pitcher upon her hand, and gave him drink. And when she had finished giving him drink, she said, I will draw water for your camels also, until they have finished drinking. And she hurried, and emptied her pitcher in the trough, and ran again to the well to draw water. And she drew for all his camels. And the Lord was watching her, keeping silent, in order to know whether the Lord had prospered his journey or not. And it came to pass, as the camels had finished drinking, that the man took a golden earring of a 1/2 shekel weight, and 2 bracelets for the hand, weighing 10 shekels of gold. And he said, Whose daughter are you? I pray you, tell me, is there room in your father's house for us to stay in? And she said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore unto Nahor. And she said to him, We have both straw and fodder enough, and room to lodge in. And the man bowed his head and worshipped the Lord. And he said, Blessed be the Lord, God of my master Abraham, who has not left my master destitute of his mercy and his truth. As for me, the Lord led me in the way to the house of my master's brothers. And the young woman ran and told her mother's house these things. And Rebekah had a brother, and his name was Laban. And Laban ran out to the man to the well, and when he saw the earrings and the bracelets upon his sister's hands, and when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, So spoke the man to me, he came to the man, and behold, he stood by the camels at the well. And he said, Come in, blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? For I have prepared the house and room for the camels. And the man came into the house, and he unloaded his camels, and gave straw and fodder to the camels, and water to wash his feet, and the feet of the men that were with him. And there was food set before him to eat. But he said, I will not eat until I have told my errand. And he said, Speak on. And he said, I am Abraham's servant, and the Lord has blessed my master greatly. He has become great, and he has given him flocks and herds and silver and gold, and men servants and maid servants, and camels and asses. And Sarah my master's wife bore a son to my master when she was old. and he has given to him all that he has. And my master made me swear, saying, Ye shall not take a wife to my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I live, but ye shall go to my father's house, and to my kindred, and take a wife to my son. And I said to my master, Perhaps the women will not follow me. And he said to me, The Lord, before whom I walk, will send his angel with you, and prosper your way. And you shall take a wife for my son from my kindred, and from my father's house. Then shall you be clear from my oath when you come to my kindred, and if they do not give you one, you shall be clear from my oath. And I came this day to the well, and said, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, if now thou dost prosper my way which I go, behold, I stand by the well of water. And it shall come to pass that when the virgin comes forth to draw water, and I say to her, Give me, I pray you, a little water from your pitcher to drink, and she says to me, Both you drink, and I will also draw for your camels, let the same be the woman whom the Lord has appointed for my master's son. And before I finished speaking in my heart, behold, Rebekah came forth with her pitcher on her shoulder. And she went down to the well and drew water. And I said to her, I pray you, let me drink. And she hurried and let down her pitcher from her shoulder, and said, Drink, and I will give drink to your camels also. And so I drank, and she made the camels drink also. And I said to her, Whose daughter are you? And she said, The daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore unto him. And I put the earrings upon her face, and the bracelets upon her hands. And I bowed down my head and worshipped the Lord, and blessed the Lord God of my master Abraham, who had led me in the right way to take my master's brother's daughter to his son. And now if you will deal kindly and truthfully with my master, tell me. And if not, tell me so that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, The thing has come forth from the Lord. We cannot speak to you bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, even as the Lord has spoken. And it came to pass that when Abraham's servant heard their words, he worshipped the Lord, bowing himself to the earth. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver and jewels of gold and clothing, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave precious things to her brother and to her mother. And they ate and drank, he and the men that were with him, and stayed all night. And they rose up in the morning and said, Send me away to my master. And her mother and brother said, Let the young woman stay with us a few days, rather 10, and that then she shall go. And he said to them, Do not hinder me, since the Lord has prospered my way. Send me away, that I may go away to my master. And they said, We will call the young woman and inquire at her mouth. And they called Rebekah and said to her, Will you go with this man? And she said, I will go. And they sent away Rebekah their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. And they blessed Rebekah, and said to her, Our sister be the mother of thousands of millions, and let your seed possess the gate of those who hate them. And Rebekah rose up and her young women, and they rode upon the camels, and followed the man. And the servant took Rebekah, and went his way. And Isaac came from the way of the well of Lahairoi, for he lived in the south country. And Isaac went out to think things over in the field at the beginning of the evening. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes. And when she saw Isaac, she quickly alighted from the camel. For she had said to the servant, What man is this that walks in the field to meet us? And the servant said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife. And he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. Genesis chapter 25. Then again Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bore him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua. And Jokshan fathered Sheba, and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Ashrorim, Latushim, and Laummim. And the sons of Midian were Ephah, and Epher, Hanok, and Abadiah, and Eldaah. All these were the children of Keturah. And Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac. But to the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts. And he sent them away from Isaac his son while he still lived, eastward to the east country. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived, 175 years. Then Abraham gave up the spirit and died, in a good old age, old and satisfied. And he was gathered to his people, and his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave at Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is before Mamre, the field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth. There Abraham was buried, and Sarah his wife. And after the death of Abraham it came to pass that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac lived by the well at Lahairoi. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bore to Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael was Nebajoth. Then came Kedar, and Abiel, and Mibsan, and Mishma, and Duma, and Massa, Hadar, Timah, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns and their castles, 12 princes according to their nations. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he gave up the spirit and died, and was gathered to his people. And they lived from Havilah unto Shur, which is before Egypt as you go toward Assyria. And he died in the presence of all his brothers. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham fathered Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian, and Padan Aram, the sister of Laban the Syrian. And Isaac prayed unto the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord heard him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she says, If it is so, why am I this way? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said to her, 2 nations are in your womb, and 2 kinds of people shall be separated from your bowels. The one shall be stronger than the other people, and the older shall serve the younger. And when her days were fulfilled, behold, twins were in her womb. And the first came out red all over, like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. And after that his brother came out, and his hand took hold on Esau's heel. And his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bore them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a skillful hunter, a man of the field. And Jacob was plain, a plain man living in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he ate of his deer meat, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob boiled pottage. And Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, I pray you, feed me with that red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore his name was called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me your birthright today. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point of dying, and what profit shall this birthright be to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. And he swore to him, and he sold his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils. And he ate and drank and rose up and went away. And so Esau despised his birthright. Genesis chapter 26. And there was a famine in the land, beside the famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Do not go down into Egypt. Live in the land which I tell you of. Stay in this land, and I will be with you and will bless you. For unto you and unto your seed I will perform the oath which I swore unto Abraham your father. And I will make your seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give to your seed all these countries, and in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. And Isaac lived in Gerar, and the men of the place asked him about his wife, and he said, She is my sister. For he feared to say, My wife, lest the men of the place should kill him for Rebekah, because she was beautiful to look upon. And when he had been there a long time, it came to pass that Abimelech king of the Philistines looked out through the window and saw, and behold, Isaac was caressing Rebekah his wife. And Abimelech called Isaac and said, Behold, she surely is your wife. Why did you say, She is my sister? And Isaac said to him, Because I said, Lest I die on account of her. And Abimelech said, What is this that you have done to us? One of the people might have lain with your wife, and you would have brought guilt upon us. And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, He that touches this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Then Isaac sowed in that land, and received in the same year 100-fold. And the Lord blessed him, and the man became great, and he went forward and grew until he became very great. And he had possession of flocks and possessions of herds, and many household servants. And the Philistines envied him, for all the wells which his father's servants had dug in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had stopped them and filled them with earth. And Abimelech said to Isaac, Go away from us, for you are much mightier than we are. And Isaac departed from there and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and lived there. And Isaac dug again the wells of water which they had dug in the days of Abraham his father, for the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham. And he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. And Isaac's servants dug in the valley, and found there a well of living water. And the herdsmen of Gerar strove with Isaac's herdmen, saying, The water's ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. And they dug another well, and they strove for that also. And he called the name of it Sitnah. And he moved from there and dug another well, and they did not strive for that. And he called the name of it Rehoboth. And he said, For now the Lord has made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And he went from there to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham your father. Do not fear, for I am with you, and will bless you, and multiply your seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he built an altar there, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there. And Isaac's servants dug a well there. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar with Ahuzath, one of his friends, and Phicol, the chief captain of his army. And Isaac said to them, Why do you come to me, since you hate me, and have sent me away from you? And they said, We saw certainly that the Lord was with you. And we said, Let there be now an oath between us and you, and let us make a covenant with you, that you will do us no harm, since we have not touched you, and since we have done nothing but good to you, and have sent you away in peace. You are now the blessed of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and they ate and drank, and they rose up early in the morning, and swore to one another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. And the same day it came to pass that Isaac's servants came and told him about the water, and he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba unto this day. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Berai, the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon, the Hittite, who were a grief of mind to Isaac and to Rebekah. Genesis chapter 27. And it came to pass, when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called his oldest son Esau, and said to him, My son. And he said to him, Behold, here I am. And he said, Behold, now I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now therefore I pray you, take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out to the field, and hunt deer meat for me. And make tasty meat for me, such as I love, and bring it to me, so that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. And Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to his son Esau. And Esau went to the field to hunt for deer meat in order to bring it in. And Rebekah spoke to her son Jacob, saying, Behold, I heard your father speak to your brother Esau, saying, Bring me deer meat, and make me tasty meat, so that I may eat and bless you before the Lord, before my death. Therefore, my son, obey my voice according to what I command you. Go now to the flock, and bring me from there 2 good kids of the goats. And I will make them tasty meat for your father, such as he loves. And you shall bring it to your father, so that he may eat, and that he may bless you before his death. And Jacob said to his mother Rebekah, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father will perhaps feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said to him, Your curse be upon me, my son, only obey my voice, and go bring them to me. And he went. And he took them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made tasty meat such as his father loved. And Rebekah took the costly garments of her older son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins from the kids of the goats on his hands and on the smooth of his neck. And she gave the tasty meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. And he came to his father and said, My father. And he said, Here I am. Who are you, my son? And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you asked me. Arise, I pray you, sit and eat of my deer meat, that your soul may bless me. And Isaac said to his son, How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because the Lord your God brought it to me. And Isaac said to Jacob, Come near, I pray you, so that I may feel you, my son, whether you are truly my son Esau or not. And Jacob went near to Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not know him, because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. And so he blessed him. And he said, Are you truly my son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it to me, and I will eat of my son's deer meat, so that my soul may bless you. And he brought it near to him, and ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said to him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his clothing, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field, which the Lord has blessed. Therefore God give you of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve you, and let nations bow down to you. Be Lord over your brothers, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. And cursed be every one that curses you, and blessed be he that blesses you. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was scarcely gone from the presence of Isaac, his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting, and he also had made tasty meat, and brought it to his father. And he said unto his father, Let my father arise, and eat of his son's deer meat, so that your soul may bless me. And his father Isaac said to him, Who are you? And he said, I am your son, your firstborn, Esau. And Isaac trembled with a great trembling, and said, Who? Where is he who has hunted deer, and brought it to me, and I have eaten of all before you came, and have blessed him? Yes, he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the voice of his father, he cried with a great and exceedingly bitter cry, and said to his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, Your brother came with deceit, and has taken away your blessing. And he said, Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing. And he said, Have you not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said to Esau, Behold, I have made him your lord, and all his brothers I have given him for servants. And with corn and wine I have supported him. And what shall I do now to you, my son? And Esau said to his father, Have you but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said to him, Behold, your dwelling shall be of the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by your sword you shall live, and shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass, when you have the dominion, you shall break his yoke from off your neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father had blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. And these words of her older son Esau were told to Rebekah. And she went and called her younger son Jacob, and said to him, Behold, your brother Esau comforts himself regarding you, intending to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice and arise. Flee to my brother Laban, to Haran, and stay with him a few days, until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you, and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I also be bereaved of both of you in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life, because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife of the daughters of Heth like these of the daughters of the land, what good shall my life do me? Genesis chapter 28. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him and commanded him, and he said to him, You shall not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel, your mother's father, and take a wife from there of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. And may God Almighty bless you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, so that you may be a multitude of people. And may he give you the blessing of Abraham to you and to your seed with you, so that you may inherit the land in which you are a stranger, which God gave to Abraham. And Isaac sent Jacob away, and he went to Padan Aram, to Laban, son of Bethuel, the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, the mother of Jacob and Esau. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob and sent him away to Padan Aram, he ordered to take a wife from there, and that he had blessed him, he gave him a command, saying, Ye shall not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. And that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother, and had gone to Padan Aram. And when Esau saw that the daughters of Canaan did not please Isaac his father, then Esau went to Ishmael, and took Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, unto the wives which he had, to be his wife. And Jacob went out from Beersheba, and went up to Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place, and stayed there all night, because the sun had set. And he took of the stones of that place, and put them down for pillows, and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it, and said, I am the Lord, God of Abraham your father, the God of Isaac. The land on which you lie I will give to you and to your seed. And your seed shall be like the dust of the earth, and ye shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in you and in your seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you, and will keep you in every place where you go. And I will bring you again into this land, for I will not leave you, until I have done that which I have spoken of unto you. And Jacob awakened from his sleep, and he said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it. And he was afraid, and said, How fearful is this place! This is none other but the house of God. This is the very gate of heaven. And Jacob rose up early in the morning, and took the stone which he had put down for his pillow, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil on the top of it. And he called the name of the place Bethel. But the name of the city was Luz at first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to put on, so that I come again unto my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that thou shalt give me I will surely give the tenth unto thee. Genesis chapter 29. Then Jacob went on his journey, and came to the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it, for they watered the flocks out of the well. And a great stone was upon the well's mouth, and all the flocks were gathered there, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in its place. And Jacob said to them, My brothers, where are you from? And they said, We are from Haran. And he said to them, Do you know Laban, the son of Nahor? And they said, We know him. And he said to them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, his daughter Rachel comes with the sheep. And he said, Lo, the day is yet high. It is not time for gathering the cattle together. Water the sheep, and go feed them. And they said, We cannot until all the flocks have been gathered together. And they rolled the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep. And while he still spoke with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And when Jacob saw Rachel, the daughter of Laban his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his mother's brother, then it came to pass that Jacob went near, and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flocks of Laban his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice, and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. And when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, Surely you are my bone and my flesh. And he stayed with him for a month. And Laban said to Jacob, Because you are my brother, should you then serve me for nothing? Tell me, what shall your wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the oldest was Leah, and the name of the youngest was Rachel. And Leah was weak of eyes, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I will serve you 7 years for Rachel your younger daughter. And Laban said, It is better that I give her to you than that I should give her to another man. Stay with me. And so Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed to him but a few days, for the love that he had for her. And Jacob said to Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, so that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place, and made a feast. And in the evening he took his daughter Leah, and brought her to him. And he went in unto her, and Laban gave Zilpah his maid to his daughter Leah for a handmaid. And in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, What is this that you have done to me? Did I not serve with you for Rachel? Why then have you tricked me? And Laban said, It must not be done so in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Fulfill her week, and we will give you this also for the service which you shall serve with me still another 7 years. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week. And he gave him Rachel his daughter to wife also. And Laban gave Bilhah his maid to his daughter Rachel, to be her handmaid. And he also went in unto Rachel. He also loved Rachel more than Leah, and served with him still 7 more years. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived, and bore a son. And she called his name Reuben, for she said, Surely the Lord has looked upon my afflictions. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, Because the Lord has heard that I was hated, he has therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again, and bore a son, and said, Now this time my husband will return to me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore his name was called Levi. And she conceived again, and bore a son. And she said, Now I will praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah, and quit bearing. Genesis chapter 30. And when Rachel saw that she bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister. And she said to Jacob, Give me children, or else I will die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, Am I in God's stead, who has withheld from you the fruit of the womb? And she said, Behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, so that I may also have children by her. And she gave him her handmaid Bilhah to wife. And Jacob went in unto her, and Bilhah conceived and bore Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God has judged me, and has also heard my voice, and has given me a son. Therefore she called his name Dan. And Rachel's maid Bilhah conceived again, and bore Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, With the wrestlings of God I have wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had quit bearing, she took her maid Zilpah, and gave her to Jacob to wife. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a son, and Leah said, A troop comes. And she called his name Gad. And Leah's maid Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. And Leah said, I am happy, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of the wheat harvest, and found May apples in the field, and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, I pray you, give me some of your son's May apples. And she said to her, It is a small matter that you have taken my husband, and would you also take my son's May apples? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with you tonight for your son's May apples. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, You must come in unto me, for I have surely hired you with my son's May apples. And he lay with her that night, and God listened to Leah, and she conceived, and bore Jacob the fifth son. And Leah said, God has given me my hire, because I have given my maid to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bore Jacob the sixth son. And Leah said, God has presented me with a good dowry. Now my husband will live with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterward she bore a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son, and she said, Now God has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph. And she said, The Lord shall add another son to me. And when Rachel had borne Joseph, it came to pass that Jacob said to Laban, Send me away, so that I may go into my own place and to my country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you. And let me go, for you know my service which I have done you. And Laban said to him, I pray you, if I have found favor in your eyes, stay. For I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for your sake. And he said, Appoint your wages, and I will give it. And he said to him, You know how I have served you, and how your cattle were with me. For you have had little before I came, and it has now increased to a multitude. And the Lord has blessed you since my coming. And now when shall I provide for my own house also? And he said, What shall I give you? And Jacob said, You shall not give me anything. But if you will do this for me, I will again feed and keep your flock. I will pass through all the flocks today, and take out all the speckled and spotted sheep, and all of the black sheep among the lambs, and the spotted and the speckled amongst the goats. And these shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, and it shall come for my hire before your face. And God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son, and she said, God has taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph. And she said, The Lord shall add another son to me. And when Rachel had borne Joseph, it came to pass that Jacob said to Laban, Send me away, so that I may go into my own place and to my country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served you, and let me go, for you know my service which I have done to you. And Laban said to him, I pray you, if I have found favor in your eyes, stay. For I have learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for your sake. And he said, Appoint your wages, and I will give it. And he said to him, You know how I served you, and how your cattle were with me. For you had little before I came, and it has now increased to a multitude. And the Lord has blessed you since my coming. And now when shall I provide for my own house also? And he said, What shall I give you? And Jacob said, You shall not give me anything. If you will do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep your flock. I will pass through all the flocks today, taking out all the speckled and spotted sheep, and all of the black sheep among the lambs, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats. And these shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, and it shall come for my hire before your face. Every one that is not speckled and spotted amongst the goats, and black among the sheep, shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, Behold, let it be according to your word. And that day he took out the he-goats that were striped and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, every one that had white in it, and all the black from among the lambs, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey between himself and Jacob. And Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took rods of green poplar, and of the hazel and the chestnut tree, and he peeled white streaks in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had peeled before the flocks in the gutters in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, so that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived in front of the rods, and brought forth striped cattle, speckled and spotted. And Jacob separated the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the striped, and all the black in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and did not put them with the flock of Laban. And when the stronger flocks conceived, Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the flocks in the gutters, so that they might conceive among the rods. But when the flocks were feeble, he did not put them in. And so the feebler ones were Laban's, and the stronger ones were Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had many flocks, and maidservants, and manservants, and camels, and asses. Genesis chapter 31. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and he has gotten all this glory from that which was our father's. And Jacob saw the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your kindred, and I will be with you. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field to his flocks. And he said to them, I see your father's face, that it is not toward me as before. But the God of my father has been with me, and you know that with all my power I have served your father. And your father has deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But God did not allow him to hurt me. If he said, This, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flocks bore speckled. And if he said this, the striped shall be your hire, then all the flocks bore striped. And so God has taken away the flocks of your father, and has given them to me. And at the time the cattle conceived, I lifted up my eyes, and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were striped, speckled, and mottled. And the angel of God spoke to me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here I am. And he said, Lift up your eyes, and see all the rams which leap upon the cattle, that they are striped, speckled, and mottled. For I have seen all that Laban does to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar, where you vowed a vow to me. Now arise and get out from this land, and return to the land of your kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted strangers by him? For he has sold us, and has also entirely devoured our money. For all the riches which God has taken from our father, that is ours and our children's. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and wives upon camels, and he carried away all his flocks, and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting which he had gotten at Padam Aram, in order to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images which were her father's. And Jacob stole away the heart of Laban the Syrian, in that he did not tell him that he fled. And so he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river, and set his face toward Mount Gilead. It was told Laban on the third day that Jacob had fled, and he took his brothers with him, and pursued after him 7 days' journey, and they overtook him in Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said to him, Take heed that you do not speak either good or bad to Jacob. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brothers pitched in Mount Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What have you done that you have stolen away my heart, and carried away my daughters as captives taken with the sword? Why did you flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and did not tell me, so that I might have sent you away with mirth, and with songs, and with tabret, and with harp? And why have you not allowed me to kiss my sons and my daughters? You have done foolishly in so doing. It is the power of my hand to do you harm. But the God of your father spoke to me last night, saying, Take heed that you do not speak either good or bad to Jacob. And now you have gone because you longed after your father's house. But why have you stolen my goods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid. For I said, Perhaps you would take your daughters away from me by force. With whomever you find your gods, let him not live. Before our brothers, choose what is yours with me, and take it to you, for Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the tents of the 2 maidservants, and he did not find them. And he went out of Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images, and put them into the camel's saddle, and sat on them. And Laban searched all the tent, but did not find them. But she said to her father, Let it not displease my lord that I cannot rise up before you, for the custom of women is upon me. And he searched, but did not find the images. And Jacob was angry, and rebuked Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin, that you have so hotly pursued after me? For you have searched all my stuff. What have you found of all your household stuff? Set it here before my brothers and your brothers, that they may judge between us. I was with you 20 years. Your ewes and she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of your flocks I have not eaten. That which was torn I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it. You required it at my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen at night. So I was in the day, the heat consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. So I have been 20 years in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 for your flocks, and you have changed my wages 10 times. Unless the God of my fathers, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac had been with me, surely you would have sent me away empty. God has seen my affliction, and the labor of my hands, and rebuked you last night. Laban answered and said to Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these flocks are my flocks. All that you see is mine. And what can I do this day to those my daughters, or to their children, which they have borne? Now therefore come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be for a witness between you and me. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said to his brothers, Come, gather stones. And they took stones and made a heap, and they ate there upon the heap. And Laban called it Jegar-sahadutha, but Jacob called it Galeed. And Laban said, The heap is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore the name of it was called Galeed and Mizpah, for he said, The Lord watch between you and me when we are absent from one another. If you shall afflict my daughter, or if you shall take other wives besides my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness between you and me. And Laban said to Jacob, Behold this heap, behold this pillar, which I have cast between you and me. This heap is witness, and this pillar is witness, that I will not pass over the heap to you, and that you shall not pass over this heap and this pillar to me for harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge between us." And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice on the mountain, and called his brothers to eat bread. And they ate bread, and stayed all night in the mountain. And early in the morning Laban rose up, and kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed, and returned to his place. Genesis chapter 32. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's host." And he called the name of the place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother to the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, "So shall you speak to my lord Esau. Your servant Jacob says thus, I have lived with Laban and stayed until now. And I have oxen and asses and flocks and men servants and women servants. And I have sent to tell my lord that I may find grace in your sight." And the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau, and also he comes to meet you, and 400 men with him." Then Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him, the flocks and the herds and the camels, into 2 bands. And he said, "If Esau comes to the one company and strikes it, then the other company which is left shall escape." And Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, Return unto your country and to your kindred, and I will deal with you, I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast shown thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I have become 2 bands. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. For I fear him, lest he come and strike me, and the mother with the children. And thou didst say, I will surely do you good, and make your seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude." And he lodged there that night, and he took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother, 200 she-goats, 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 milk camels with their colts, and 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses and 10 foals. And he delivered them into the hands of his servants, every drove by themselves. And he said to his servants, Pass over in front of me, and put a space between drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, When Esau my brother meets you, and asks you, saying, To whom do you belong, and where do you go, and to whom do these before you belong? Then you shall say, Your servant Jacob. It is a present sent to my lord Esau. And behold, he also is behind us. And so he commanded the second and the third, and all that followed, the drove, saying, In this way ye shall speak to Esau when you find him. And moreover you shall say, Behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease him with the present that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. And so the present went over before him, and he himself lodged that night in the company. And he rose up that night, and took his 2 wives, and his 2 women servants, and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok. And he took them, and set them over the brook, and sent over what he had. And Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled there with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh. And the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaks. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is your name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For like a prince you have power with God and with men, and have prevailed. And Jacob asked and said, I pray thee, tell me thy name. And he said, Why is it that you ask after my name? And he blessed him there, and Jacob called the name of the place Peniel. For I have seen God's face here face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Penuel, the sun rose upon him, and he limped upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel do not eat of the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh until this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew that shrank. Genesis chapter 33. And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and 400 men with him. And he divided the children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto 2 handmaids, and he put the handmaids and their children first, and Leah and her children afterward, and Rachel and Joseph last. And he passed over in front of them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother. And Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell upon his neck, and kissed him. And they wept. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw the women and the children, and said, Who are these with you? And he said, The children which God has graciously given your servant. Then the handmaidens came near, they and their children, and they bowed themselves. And Leah also and her children came near, and bowed themselves. And afterward Joseph came near, and Rachel, and they bowed themselves. And he asked, What do you mean by all this drove which I met? And he said, These are to find grace in the sight of my Lord. And Esau says, I have enough, my brother, keep what you have yourself. And Jacob said, No, I pray you, if now I have found grace in your sight, then receive my present at my hand. For therefore have I seen your face as though I had seen the face of God, and you were pleased with me. I pray you, take my blessing that is brought to you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough. And he urged him, and he took it, and he said, Let us take our journey, and let us go, and I will go before you. And he said to him, My Lord knows that the children are tender, and the flocks and the herds with young are with me. And if the men should overdrive them one day, all the flocks will die. I pray you, let my Lord pass over before his servant, and I will lead on softly according as the flocks that go before me and the children are able to endure, until I come to my Lord, to Seir. And Esau said, Let me now leave with you some of the folks that are with me. And he said, Why then? Let me find grace in the sight of my Lord. And so Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth, and built him a house, and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name of the place is called Succoth. And Jacob came to Shalem, a city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram. And he pitched his tent in front of the city, and he bought a piece of field there, where he had spread his tent, at the hand of the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 pieces of money. And he erected there an altar, and he called it Eliel Ohi Israel.